Hi, and a warm welcome to another episode of Raul Reviews. Today, we're going to be discussing Stranger Things Season 4. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a certain aspect of Season 4, which I thought differentiated it from Seasons 2 and 3, and what made it just as good, and some people might even argue better than Season 1. Gonna be a long episode. Spoilers are inbound. Grab some snacks, grab a drink or two, sit down, and let's dive in. So what is Stranger Things? Well, Stranger Things is a TV show that airs on Netflix. It's gone on for about 4 seasons, with the 4th season just ending a couple of days back. I would say it is Netflix's top most watched English TV show. For those of you who don't know anything about Stranger Things, I'm going to try and give you a really short summary of what it's all about. It's set in the 1980s in a small town of Hawkins, Indiana. It is here where we meet a group of boys, probably 10, 11 years old, and they are out searching for one of their friends who's gone missing. During their search, they come across a young girl about the same age as them who has psychic abilities. She's no ordinary girl. She has just escaped from a research facility that was experimenting on her. Adventure ensues as there is also a creature that's roaming around the town, killing people off. And to really summarize it, the girl with the psychic abilities befriends the group of boys. They find out that the creature comes from another dimension called the Upside Down. It is there that they find their missing friend and rescue him. By doing so, they kill the creature and close the gates to the other dimension. That is as brief as I can get about Season 1. Seasons 2 and 3 follow a similar narrative, but it failed to live up to its hype. And now, with the end of Season 4, there was something that I thought worked really well, and that is all about the villain. In Season 1, we have 2 main villains, right? The first and clearly the most obvious one is the Demogorgon, the creature that's terrorizing Hawkins, Indiana, and that comes from the Upside Down. So what makes this creature so intriguing? Firstly, we don't know what exactly it is. We know it comes from the Upside Down, but what is the Upside Down? What does it want? Why is it in our world? What is it looking for? How does it behave? All these different things are all introduced to us in Season 1. And they answer every one of those questions throughout the season by slowly peeling the layer of the Demogorgon. Our second villain, and a more important one in my opinion, a more complex one, is Dr. Brenner, played by the brilliant Matthew Modine. I mean, he kills it in this role. Dr. Brenner is the head scientist of the research lab that Eleven, the girl with the psychic abilities, escapes. She calls him Papa, and that creates a very twisted relationship between Dr. Brenner and Eleven, because they're not biologically related. He basically kidnapped her when she was a baby because he knew she had psychic abilities and wanted to experiment on her, and therefore raised her kind of like in captivity. And throughout Season 1, what's very interesting is that we get to see this relationship between Dr. Brenner and Eleven. On top of that, how that links to the Demogorgon, to the Upside Down, and basically the universe that is being created in Stranger Things. I honestly can't remember much about Season 2 and 3. Season 1 I remember vividly. It was amazing. Season 2, Season 3 was such letdown. Why? Mainly because of their villains. You have was it the Mind Flayer and the Demodogs. These are the two main villains for Season 2 and Season 3. What are the Demodogs? The Demodogs are basically baby versions of the Demogorgon. Yeah, there are many of them, but that's basically it. Now, the Mind Flayer seems to be hinted at as the big bad. It is trying to get into our world. It is trying to possess people in our world to rule the world, essentially. Overall story arcs, it didn't really work. Because for me, villains were not good enough. Now, don't at me. Don't at me. Season 2 and 3 had great moments, right? We were introduced to Max and Billy. We were also introduced to the brilliant Maya Hawke as Robin. We also got to see Dustin and Steve's bromance. There were many, many highlights of Season 2 and 3. And this brings us to Season 4. Now, I'm going to tell you what I liked and what I didn't like about it. What I didn't like about it, story arcs of some of the characters. I'm not the first one to complain about it, and I won't be the last. The main culprits, your California crew, right? You have your Mike, Jonathan, Will, and Argyle. And in Hawkins, I didn't really enjoy Lucas's story arc for most part of Volume 1. But I kept an open mind because there was still Volume 2 to go. There was still another 4 hours of story that had not been told. Now, we come to the one thing that I felt distinguished this season from the other seasons, and that is the villain. This season's main villain, Wagner, right? Straight off the bat, the guy looks scary. He differs a lot from the Demogorgon and the Demodogs from Seasons 1 and 2 because he's more humanoid. He can speak. Whereas in Seasons 1 and 2, we had the Demogorgon and the Demodogs, which were more animal-like. So these creatures behaved in a more animal way. They would hunt, they would feed, things like that. So there wasn't really a clear motive behind them. However, with Wagner, you can see clearly what he's trying to do. So let's do a little backstory for Wagner. All right? Henry was an odd little boy. He moved in to Hawkins, Indiana with his parents and his sister. However, he was one of the first people that we meet who has psychic abilities. This predates 11 and many of the kids that were in the experiments. He's an odd little boy, to put it nicely, and he starts tormenting his family with hallucinations. As his mother is catching on that, oh, it's actually this little boy who's messing with everybody's head, he kills her dead. He then traps his father in a hallucination, and while his father is trapped in a hallucination, he goes ahead and kills his younger sister. Now what happens is Henry, being a young boy, does not have the strength to control his powers and slips into a coma, therefore relieving his father of the hallucinations. His father is obviously pinned for the murders of his family and locked up. When Henry awakens from his coma, who's there treating him? Dr. Brenner. Dr. Brenner is the one treating him. As far as I understand, and again, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, he puts a power dampener into Henry. I'm guessing, and this is all speculation, I'm guessing it's because he was scared of Henry. Because Henry almost killed his entire family. And then he tattoos Henry with the numbers 001. Henry manages to manipulate 11 into removing the power dampener. He then goes on a killing spree, killing almost everybody in the research lab. 11, realizing her mistake, decides to try and stop Henry, and they get into a duel of psychic abilities. She defeats Henry by opening up a gate. And now remember, this is the first time she's ever opened up a gate, right? This is the first time she's opened up a gate. She sends Henry through that gate, thinking that she's already killed him because she does not know what's on the other side of that gate. We know that's the gate to the Upside Down. It is there that we see Henry becoming Wagner. In Volume 2, we get two big revelations. The first big revelation, Henry meets the Mind Flayer in the Upside Down. Now, this is before the Mind Flayer became the Mind Flayer. It was basically a shadow. So Henry meets the shadow and he molds it into the Mind Flayer, which is shocking because up till then, we all thought the Mind Flayer was the big bad. This means that whatever that is happening here can be traced back all the way to season 1. A little side note, right? This season had a lot of retcons going on. So if you're going to go back to season 1 there and rewatch season 2s and 3s, there are going to be some things that don't really add up. And some people might not like it, but I'll forgive the writers for that. Wagner is the big bad. He needs the Mind Flayer to control the Demodogs and the Demogorgon because the Mind Flayer works like a hive mind. That is why every time he goes and torments the kids in Hawkins, in our world, he has to jack in Matrix style for him to be able to use his powers. The second revelation now is a bit more of a hint, and this happened during the conversation between Eleven and Dr. Brenner. Now we know in season 1, Dr. Brenner was using 11 to open up gates to explore the Upside Down. However, we see here 11 accusing Dr. Brenner of using her to look through the Upside Down to find Wagner, to find Henry, to find number 1. While he clearly denies that he was using 11 to look for 1 in the Upside Down, it kind of tells me that 11 hit the nail on the head with this one. In my opinion, this is why Stranger Things Season 4 absolutely smashed it out of the ballpark. As I mentioned before, the things that I did not like was the story arcs of some of our characters. Well, they kind of did a few good things with that in Volume 2, especially with Will. We all know, worst kept secret, Will is in love with Mike. And that scene he had with Mike in the car, so brilliant, so beautifully executed, so beautifully acted. It couldn't have gone any better. And then back at the pizza parlor, Jonathan sees what his brother is going through and knows that he's not been the best brother, or rather not been around for his brother much. And that was such a beautifully acted scene. Really, really touched me. Another character, Lucas, who was mostly in the background of this season, he literally showed us a new side of him when he was grieving the death of Max. I mean, that was just pure brilliant acting. To wrap it up, this season made me laugh, made me cry. I did have tears in my eyes, especially towards the end of those 2 episodes. It had me on the edge of my seat. It had me covering my eyes and peeping through my fingers, especially in episode 1, because whoa, that was a little bit intense. That was a little bit scary. I'm definitely looking forward to the next season and how they wrap the entire series. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Raul Reviews. What did you think of Stranger Things Season 4? Do you think it was better than Season 1? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to sub, like, share, and comment. Do all of those things if you really enjoyed this episode. You have a great day now, and I'll see you in the next one.